Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around, we are on the map of Warpstone Mine, playing as the forces of the Greenskins against the forces of the Dowie. And this is a matchup that can be a little flustering, at least for me when I play Greenskins, because, well, Dwarfs have gyrocopters, they have some very tough and difficult to crack infantry, and as Greenskins, you don't necessarily have the best tools to deal with those things, certainly not quickly. And so for this build, I tried to contend with all possibilities. For my lord, I'm going to be running Azag, and I think Azag's a decent choice in this matchup. He's usually the character I run. One, he's very difficult to snipe. You're not going to see him sniped by a cannon as long as you're on top of your micro. You're not going to see him sniped by gyrocopters as long as you're on top of your micro. His Lore of Magic is not the greatest for this match, to be honest. Lore of Death, kind of crap against dwarfs, to be quite honest with you guys. Soul Blight's okay. Yeah, if you get a nice purple sun, it can be good. But in this case, I did bring Spirit Leech to try to contest with Gyros a little bit, as well as Soul Blight, because I think those are like really the only really useful spells in this lore against the dwarves. But more importantly, Azag can get some decent support options. He's your only flying lore that's not the Greenskin War Boss. He's got Wah. He can fight okay. Not great with that 24 melee defense. Certainly don't keep him in a fight, but if you need to commit him, he can snipe. He can cycle charge, be a bit nuisance that way. And he does have Get On with it. And he can actually have this active even if he's just hovering above his troops. He can provide them with extra 8 leadership, which is nice on Greenskins. Because even Black Orcs only have 60, I believe, 6 baseline leadership. Not really that impressive. Actually, 72. My mistake. But he can help keep them in the fight for sure. Now, besides that, we don't actually have any characters, which is a little odd, a little different from the usual Greenskin fare. But our front line here composed of Black Orcs. I think Black Orcs are great against Dwarves. Personally, I really like the Crimson Killers, but they are very risky against artillery, against gyrocopters, and even against blasting charges. They can suffer a lot. And so I figured, you know what, screw that. They got a little extra width. We'll bring 3 units of Black Orcs. And these guys will shoot through the majority of Dwarf infantry. With Wah especially, I think they beat everything except maybe Iron Breakers. I'm not 100% sure there. Not a test I run, and so I kind of figured these guys can hold the line for sure. Backing them up, we do have some goblins with spears. Not much to be said for these guys. When I say goblins with spears, it's really just goblins. With their silver shields, though, they can soak up from shots. Some orc air boys on the periphery as a little bit of an anti-air force. They do have that monstrous 6 AP per shot, which actually is pretty high for a bow unit. That's on par with crossbows, so very solid. Means that especially with Soul Blight, they can actually do quite a bit of damage to dwarf infantry, and they can shoot back at brimstones a little bit, despite their low precision. 2 Doom Divers as well, another great contingency against gyrocopters, as well as against elite dwarven infantry, but you have to be very wary of artillery, and already the Goblobber with engineer support shooting back at my Doom Divers. Some Night Goblin Squig Hoppers here as backline defense alongside the Mogul's Mage Marauders. These guys very good against dwarves. They're pretty precise. They've got AP damage. That's basically all you could ask for. Night Goblin Squig Hoppers kept in the back here in case my opponent had decided to dive in. It's actually Glorious Feeder here. Pretty solid player. Likes his dwarves. In case he decides to sort of dive me here, I wanted to have these Squig Hoppers ready to jump him. Some nasty Skulkers out on the flanks are ready to sneak up and compromise the backline. More Squig Hoppers over here. Not much to be said there. Obviously, like the Skulkers here, a bit of a risky gamble here, because if Glorious Feeder here had sent out the Gyros to scout them out, they could have melted them with steam guns very quickly. Now for Glorious Feeder's army here, he is rolling with Grumbrindle, the White Dwarf, so a little bit of an off-meta pick. Usually you will see, of course, Rune Lord, but, you know, he's not bad. Flash Bomb, of course, is a great snare. Foe Seeker's not bad. Grumbrindle has no fear, can really keep your troops in the fight when things are going south, keep artillery crews from routing off the field, keep Quarrelers, units like that from fleeing. Very useful. 3 gyrocopters up in the air, including 2 brimstones as well as a vanilla variant. Already Goblobber routing off Goblin artillery because it's only got 40 base leadership. So combine the artillery debuff with the minus 16 discourage effect on Goblobber, and your poor Goblos ain't sticking around long. There's also an engineer here providing additional support. He does have the fire ring of Thori, great for melting squishy infantry like Gobos, as well as ballistics calibration to buff that already. Some Quarrelers for that missile support, point defense. Dwarf warriors with great weapons in the back, Ekron miners, and 2 units of Iron Breakers. So very narrow dwarven build, a bit of a box, but already chipping away quite effectively at my troops. You can see the counter battery fire roaring in there against the Doom Diver catapults, who are doing their very best to shoo away the Gyros, but kind of failing. The Gyros do take a few hits there, the Cabo's splattering on the ground. Azag is hot in pursuit here. And so the Dowie Air Force is definitely trying to back the hell away. But in the meantime, you know, my artillery is getting taken offline. The Doom Divers have fled. Now, fortunately, Mogos Mage Marauders back here are going to be a good defense. They're going to be able to come in here against these Gyros and prevent them from pursuing me off the field. And this is something I was trying to keep these guys on the field. If I could protect this crew from getting wrecked, I figured that's a win, because I could reman the guns later. In the meantime, Squig Hoppers looking to flank around the sides, largely being ignored, because right now all of the Dwarven attention is fixated on these Goblins, on the Blackrooks that are coming right down the pipe, and so that gives me a little bit of breathing room. In the meantime, the Gyro here getting shooed away by the Goblin as well as Orc Fire. Now, Gyros unfortunately have a decent chunk of leadership, actually, and they do have 100 armor, so they don't rout all that easily, but, you know, Orcs fortunately have higher HP per model. They don't rout as easily, and we actually managed to shoo away one unit of Gyros here pretty effectively. Of course, they don't lose models, because God forbid that they ever lose models. One of the really annoying things about Gyros, actually. In the meantime, the front line is clashing, and when I say clashing, it's mostly routing. Goblin Squig Hoppers, though, getting on top of the Goblobber here, getting counterattacked by the Dragonback Slayers, who are back there in backline defense, but they're able to munch through these boys pretty quickly. Azag, in the meantime, kind of hovering around here, doing very little, so we're actually going to pivot him in here, try to get him in on the Gyro Brimstone guns, and as the Dwarven control micro slips up a little bit there, we're actually able to get a few bites into these guys. Though, of course, with the way air combat works in this game, the Gyros will be able to squeak away very easily. Unfortunately, over there, the Squig Hoppers do get crushed completely, but not before demolishing much of the Goblobber's crew. And the Blackrooks now, wad up, are going to be committing here into the fight, going into the Ironbreakers. Some of them swing around here on the flank. The Nasty Skulkers are also in there, so we're able to get a bit of a surround. The Skulkers, as well as the Squig Hoppers here, overrun the Dwarf Warriors, while the Blackrooks pin the Ironbreakers in the front. And now the Goblin Doomdivers are back online, so they're going to be able to start chipping away at these Gyros. And at this point, the Dwarf Artillery is offline. The cannon here being compromised by the Nasty Skulkers. Azag is in there. Drumbrindle has no fear. Could have been a big saving grace here, but it has not gone off. That said, big misplay here on my part. Bounce Power is about dead even, but right now, Azag took about 1,000 damage just being down there on the ground for a tiny bit. I was trying to snipe out that Master Engineer, but it allows these Gyros to get a lot of damage in. And unfortunately, Spirit Leech, you can see, not doing very much to the Gyrocopters. They just... Finally, it does take a model down, but not before taking way just took way too long for that. Since all the damage isn't fixated on one unit, tends to get distributed, usually don't take models out until there's this low on HP, which is just nuts. Meantime, more Gyros over here, just being an absolute pain in the rear. Nasty Skulker's not really able to hold the line, but in come the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, able to get a sandwich on these brave Sons of Grungni here, and sort of overwhelming the Quarrelers in the pits. You see very little Quarreler. It's mostly Angry Fangs and razor-sharp daggers. Unfortunately, those steam guns are going to melt these guys away. Over here, some of the Squig Hoppers are going to get in on the Engineer. Finally, the Drumbrindle has no fear expires, which is going to allow me to mop a lot of these troops up. But, you know, not an ideal situation. Now, the Mogos Mage Marauders here, getting into the fight, doing some good damage against the Gyros with the Brimstone guns, chipping away at them. Doomdiver is back online now and firing away. Balance of Power swinging back towards my favor, but Azag taking a beating. He's down to 2,500 HP. And there's still a good bit of ammo on these Brimstones. Now, fortunately, we do keep hitting them with Spirit Leech. Now, Spirit Leech is not ideal. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but it is a little bit of damage that adds up alongside the Mogos Mage Marauders, alongside the Doomdivers. Every couple of hits counts. Fortunately, Gyros don't have the biggest HP pool, so every little bit, every hit we get is slowly but surely going to whittle these guys down. Unfortunately, Ironbreaker's just not getting taken out. Drumbrindle here just leading his Ironbreakers to the victory against these poor Blackrooks. They really don't stand a chance. But more Doomdiver projectiles are soaring in, homing in, just diving straight down onto those gyrocopters. It's always pretty crazy. It's like a SAM system or something, just flying in, a horde of very angry, raging gobos, trying to zoom in on these gyros. We're going to see if they can make some connections. They're going to get sliced up by those rotor blades, you'd think. But they do actually level out a little bit there. But you can see that, you know, they're going to, I think, hit, maybe. That guy's, no, he whiffed. Kind of disappointing. That guy kind of exploded, though. Looks like he hit. But, this gyro over here, in the meantime, does get routed by those hits. Unfortunately, this one we kind of missed on, but it's okay. In the meantime, the Orc Arrow Boys are pulling back with the fact that the Blackrooks have been routed. But I basically don't have a front line at this stage. So I'm going to pull back here, trying to protect these, the Brimstone gun here, or protect against the Brimstone gun. Because if this guy gets in the melee, I think they could probably break off these gobos. I don't want that happening. Arrow Boys, though, forced to stand and fight there, start chipping away the Ironbreakers, taking advantage of that 6 AP. Now, Brimstone Gun's doing a lot of work here. Take out another Doomdiver Catapult and dive into melee. But Azag is now on the hunt. He's coming in. The big war boss there just roaring into action. Doomdivers at point blank here, missing shots, which kind of an inspiring sight to see. But we are going to force these gyrocopters away. And I actually think Azag might be able to get a terror out here just from how close he is to him. They actually don't take... Do you want to counter out to terror? The leadership is very low. We do hit them with a Spirit Leech there. They are trying to juke, but we keep pressuring them. I was using a lot of Spirit Leech this game because, honestly, I have a lot of AP in my army. Soul Blight would be good to synergize with the Orc Air Boys, but that's about it. However, in the meantime, more Ghost Managing Marauders who were zoned away earlier come back, start chipping away at these Gyros who try to get in, but the Orc Air Boys actually sort of bogging them down long enough for some artillery to hit them. Over here in the meantime, Gromby getting bogged down by Gobos. It's a little bit of a spread out engagement now. Nasty Skulkers here doing cleanup against Dwarf Warriors. Over here, Blackworks still slugging out with the Iron Breakers. I actually think the Iron Breakers are going to win, which is kind of insane, to be quite honest with you guys. Just whittling them down. I guess these guys did get some support because they only got 25 kills, and these Blackworks have lost 8 more models. I think that was from the Gyros. But Azag here going to chase these Gyros off the field. The Iron Breakers trying to push forward, trying to get in on my archers, but as the Mogreb's Marauders are going to get a pincer here, Doom Divers crashing into those poor Dwarven lines, we are able to secure the Pyrrhic victory. There just wasn't much left for the Dwarfs to do. We managed to shut down all their threatening units, and at that point, Iron Breakers, sure, they're very resistant to Orc Air Boys, and Doom Divers will take a while to whittle them down, but eventually we can succeed. Azag can cycle charge them, that sort of thing. Same with Grumbrindle. Sure, he has the Smoke Bomb, but with some nasty Skulkers on the field, with Doom Divers and Orc Air Boys able to bog him down, shoot him down, we had a chance. So honestly, I was pretty satisfied with this build. One of the big mistakes, I think, on my part was deploying my artillery so close to the front line. I think I should have deployed it further back, so it couldn't get immediately counter-batteried by the Goblobber. Ended up being a big problem early on. Doom Divers essentially did nothing in the early game. They just got forced off by the Goblobber. But fortunately, we were able to protect them with our Orc Air Boys, and Azag's helped a little bit, and the Mogreb's Managing Marauders, of course. Get them back online, get them chipping away at those gyrocopters, and in the meantime we shut down all their artillery. So once all this missile play was gone, the rest of the Dwarf army here was just kind of worthless. Iron Breakers cannot run down Orc Air Boys. I could just kite for eternity. They can't run down Azag. Azag can cycle charge. So at that point you're left without options to really counter this. So I do think the commitment to shutting down the artillery play here was heavy. But if your opponent goes for, let's say, a more artillery heavy build. Let's say they go for more for more cannons than some of the gyrocopters. You then still have a pretty potent melee force that you can just overwhelm your opponent with. While in the meantime, your Doom Divers, especially if you've got some hills or berms to take advantage of, your Doom Divers can really do some major work against your opponent's infantry, against your opponent's missile units. If your opponent goes for more gyros, I think at that point you've got to make some. At that point, this defensive line is just completely untenable. You're not going to have much defense. You're probably going to dish the artillery. To that point, it's more of a contest of just swarming your opponent with your infantry while you're shooting deals with the gyros. And I think, I actually think this build's decent. Perhaps not the best. I'm not a Greenskin main, so I could be wrong, but I think it's a pretty solid build against the stunties. For Feeder's army here, I'm not a big fan of the Engineer. You don't need to win artillery duels against the Greenskins. Or maybe you do, but you don't need the help of an engineer to do it. The engineer essentially costs the same as a cannon. I think you'd get more value out of a cannon or organ gun or another 2 units of Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Or really, I think you'd get. I'm kind of curious how much he costs, because maybe I'm over exaggerating just how much the guy cost there, because he brought the engineer. He was pretty stripped down. He didn't bring most of his items. Just the firing. So for 915 gold, that's a unit. That's a unit of Slayers. That's a unit of Quarrelers plus some Miners. And I think that would have been a honestly a better investment there. With Gromby, I believe he brought Foe Seeker as well. I would have probably cut that. I don't think you need Foe Seeker. You could probably cut Foe Seeker, get like another unit of Miners with blasting charges in there, get another unit of Quarrelers, and I think you'd be in a strong, or maybe Rangers, and you'd be in a stronger position. I think the engine just didn't really pay for himself. Maybe if I'd just brought a horde of Black Orcs and that was all you need to chip away at, maybe he does better. But maybe it's just sort of that's not my style, and that's what most people do. I'm not sure, but I don't think the Engineer's really worth it for the Dwarves. I think you're just better off in most cases bringing something nice. But regardless, well played to Glorious Feeder there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. As always, leave your comments, thoughts, and opinions down below. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. Do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.